Today we're going to talk about how interviewing your own emotions can help you answer one of Jesus's most frequently asked questions. So through the Gospels, Jesus repeatedly asks the same question to all manner of people. And that question is some form or another of, what do you want? What do you want me to do for you? What do you want me to do? What do you want? What are you after? Jesus is really interested in your core desires. Not necessarily to judge them or challenge them, although sometimes challenge is needful, and one day judgment will happen. He's interested in your core desires because that's what moves you. That's what defines who you are. It's what reflects who you have been. It's what aims you at who you will become. Your core desires are the most intrinsically authentic part of you. Sometimes followers of Jesus will assume that they're not supposed to want things, or that what they want is supposed to be subsumed in a greater cosmic God's will. And that isn't a terrible thing, but it's not what Jesus is after when he asks that question. There was one moment where Jesus said to his Father, "Not my will, but yours be done." That was one moment, in a moment of agony, in a garden preparing himself to be tortured to death for crimes he did not commit. The rest of the time, he seems to have been very attuned to what his heart was feeling and what that was telling him about what he wanted, and how that was intrinsically tied to what God wanted for him. Now, that isn't to say that everything you want is what God wants for you, but the desires in your heart are guiding your life. If you are conscious of them, you can do something about that. And if you are not conscious of them, you cannot. And in either case, your desires are what Jesus is working with when he's working with you. So how can interviewing my emotions help me follow Jesus? How can they help me answer my master's question? If I notice that I'm angry, I am angry because someone did not give me what I want. It's usually more nuanced than that. It's usually more complex, but it's never more complicated than that. Anger happens when someone has frustrated my desire. Now, I'm supposed to put off my anger, all wrath, all malice, and you should do that. But when you pull the weed up, before you throw it away in disgust or self-loathing or fear that it will take over your whole garden, before you pitch it, look at it and ask it, what is it that I wanted, that I was being prevented from having when I got angry? When I'm afraid, it is because I think I'm going to lose what I want. I sense impending loss of something that is very important to me. Before I talk myself out of my fear or decide that I should be anxious for nothing, what if I were to interview that fear for a moment before I challenged it or consoled it or put it away, to find out what is it that I want that I think I will lose, and that is why I'm afraid. Because then I can take the answer to that question to Jesus, which is what he's asking me for. When I am jealous, someone else has what I want. That one's an easy one. Before I beat myself up or feel embarrassed or shameful about wanting what someone else has, what can it tell me about desires that might actually be from God in my heart? When I am sad or grieving, I have lost what I want. Someone has taken from me. Something has taken from me. Something of immense value to me. When I'm sad, I no longer have what I want. You can see how taking a moment to name the emotion you're feeling, if you have to use an emotions wheel or a list of feelings or one of those cards that have different faces on it and you try to identify which face your face feels like, identifying the emotion allows you to then interrogate it. Not roughly, not full of judgment and wrath, but just to see, what is this telling me about my desires? Now, some of your desires will be illegitimate, bent, twisted, iniquitous attachments. They will be. Those need to be confessed and repented of. But knowing they're there prevents them from hijacking you and steering your boat when you don't know it. Not knowing they're there, simply not being able to take the possibility that you have a jacked up motive, ensures that that motive will be calling the shots when you're asleep. But in that bucket of desires, that bucket of wants, some of them are just genuinely good parts of your heart. And some of them are desires that God has put in your heart. And they need to be listened to because they are places that He is guiding you from. So, if we can identify our feelings, name them, ask them a few questions, we put ourselves in good stead to be good students of Jesus, answering the question that He's always asking.